Bedtimes here used to be an absolute battleground. It was wild. Both of us, me and my husband Alex, we would get so stressed come like 5, 6 p.m. because we knew that bedtime was coming and we knew it would be a fight, basically. And one or both of us would end up yelling at the kids to get in their room, to stay in their room, to stop coming out, all the things. So definitely, I'm going to say up until probably 3-4 years ago, really. So that recent, like our bedtimes were just very, very stressful. It brought a lot of guilt for me because I was like, I don't want the days to end like this. I don't want my kids to be going to bed, like sometimes crying themselves to sleep. And I was sitting in my room, like beating myself up, but also feeling really mad at them for not listening. Like it was just awful, right? I think you guys know what I'm talking about. I realized that I had a huge sense of like needing control, especially at the end of the day when I just wanted me time. Like I'd been at work all day or been maybe looking after them all day if they were, like my youngest might have been in preschool then probably. And I was like, I just want you to leave me alone. Like just stay in your room. How hard is it? I actually even remember for our oldest, who's now almost 11, way back when, before I did emotional intelligence and moved into this space, I was still a pediatric therapist, but a speech therapist. Anyway, didn't know any better. And we even put one of those little baby locks, like the little clippy plastic locks, on his door so that he couldn't come out. Like I just look at some of the things we did back then and I was like, damn, I'm not going to blame myself because I was doing what I thought was the best thing and the only thing at the time. And that just related to how little knowledge I had about this stuff. So anyway, the other thing I realized was that I would blame Alex a lot, my husband. I would be like, if you hadn't XYZ, if you hadn't revved the kids up, or if you hadn't given them ice cream for dessert, or like, you know what I mean? We find someone to blame because it feels good, kind of releasing, almost like finding a reason for why the situation is so bad. And obviously we don't want to blame ourselves and take accountability. So yeah, he copped it as well. So anyway, it was an absolute nightmare. In reality though, I was adding just as much fuel to the fire with the kids because of my exhaustion levels, my need to have control, my nervous system, like all this stuff I'm going to talk about today. And also I knew that the kids stall, right? They don't always want to go to bed, even if they're really tired or overtired. And so I would find myself snapping over and over again. So the thing is with like improving bedtimes and changing routines or changing the way that we approach bedtime and evening time, I find that, so I coach parents, right? Obviously in emotional intelligence and applying it to parenting. And the biggest thing we realize is that it's not just like changing the routines and, getting off devices 2 hours before bed. Like some of those things I'm going to mention and they are great, but it's not actually just about the kids are misbehaving and we need to change the routines because they're not working. There's actually a much deeper reason as to why the evening time is so stressful for so many parents. So I kind of just alluded to the fact that bedtime is not just about kids going to sleep. It's actually about control and it's about emotion as well. So let me explain. I think there are 2 things that a lot of parents don't know. Number 1 is bedtime hits at the worst time for parents because we are tired, we are maybe touched out, maybe we are overstimulated, maybe we haven't even had our dinner yet, or we've had a long day at work. Like number 1, this is the worst time in terms of our energy levels and our capacity and our emotional system and our nervous system too. So this is like, we're almost like set up to fail, I want to say. And again, like we're human, but there's still a lot that we can do to make some changes coming into the evening time routine so that we don't just have the chaos of bedtime that, has been repeating itself for perhaps years until this point. Also, second thing is that kids' cups are, you know what I mean, like by cups, air quote cups, their cups are very often full from the day of, let's say, could be arguments that they've had with siblings or friends. It could be all the learning that they had to do at school, navigating social situations and balancing, I wanted to play this, my friend wanted to play that, or my daughter sometimes says, oh, we had a fight today, or I'm not playing with so-and-so. Oh, like all of that stuff. I think listening to the teacher and obeying instructions and getting their work done, stuff like that. Maybe the food that they didn't get to finish at recess or lunch because they had to go play. Oh, it's a lot, right? Their cups are full. And so it almost, like if you literally imagine a little cup of water, the fuller it is, the more full it is, the easier that like a little bump is going to make it spill over. So they're two big things. And I'm actually going to add a third, is that kids will often resist winding down because they want connection with us. Maybe we've been at work all day and then we have to cook dinner, or we've had to open our laptop and do extra stuff. Like, they don't see us. Most kids, unless they're homeschooled or things like that, like they often don't get, or it feels like they don't get enough time with us. So connection can be one, and then they can be overtired as well. So I'm pointing out all this stuff that's kind of in the background, but it's actually really important to understand. I say with everything, if we want to change a routine or change our behavior or the way we show up or the way things go down, like we have to know a little bit more of the deeper levels, rather than just, okay, bedtime, do this, and you'll be right. Like if it was that easy, everyone's bedtime would be a breeze, and it's not. So something else I think we really need to be aware of and mindful of is that our nervous systems are already on edge. Right? So after a long day, our window of tolerance gets like smaller and smaller and smaller. You know what I'm talking about, right? So if our kids come out and they ask 2 or 3 times, like, I'm thirsty, or can I have a hug, or I don't want to stay in my room, like, oh my goodness, that can trigger a huge reaction, because that window of tolerance, like our ability, our capacity to handle frustrations and, kids who are kind of battling our will, like, or not battling, but, going against what we have asked or what we want them to do or what they should be doing. Oh my God, that can just like tip us over the edge, almost like a hair trigger. So just a reminder in the midst of all this, it's not that we are bad parents when we flip our lid at that time when our child maybe wants connection or wants a hug or doesn't want to go to bed. Like, it's just that we are overloaded. It's almost like, imagine you have two hands. Imagine you're spinning plates, or you're holding plates, one on each hand, and then someone goes, here are 6 more plates. You're like, I don't have the hands for this. Like, we have more plates, right, than we have hands. We have less capacity to deal with this stuff, especially at the end of a day, okay? So just need to recognize that. Emotional intelligence is really about recognizing our reaction in that moment. So when we dial up our emotional intelligence and we dial up our self-awareness, which kind of really go hand in hand, then we're able to notice when we're building before we snap. And in recognizing that building of what it feels like in our chests, like the tension and the tightness, or the fire in our stomach, or the headache, right? When we're able to notice that, then we are in a much better position to take a break, to circuit break, to maybe tag team if we have another parent there, and to choose a different response than what it just feels like we want to do or say. I often ask myself, what does my body need right now? What am I feeling right now? Am I tense? Am I getting short and snappy? Like, I can feel it. I know when it's happening. Am I doing that like huff or the sigh or the internal eye roll, right? I can now notice those bodily movements and those behaviors in myself, and I can sense those feelings, and I'm like, okay, I need to step away, or this is gonna be like a runaway train. So let's talk about, how do we manage our triggers in the moment? Yes, we do need to dial up our self-awareness. I talked about that. We do need to have some ideas of circuit breakers. What can we do when we are about to flip our lid because our child has refused to stay in bed, or they have asked for a drink of water for the 10th time? Like, what are we actually going to do? Sometimes I say when I coach parents, I'm like, we have to talk about this. We have to script it out. Like, what is going to work for you? This won't work for me, but that will. Okay, let's brainstorm some ideas. I think it's also really, really helpful to reframe our kids' behavior. Like, if you go back to like the first 5 minutes of this video in this episode, like, you're going to be able to use some of that information to reframe, why are they coming out and why am I so snappy? Like, why do I not have the tolerance, right, and the compassion and the empathy that I did at 8 a.m. this morning? So I often reframe things to, my kids are not trying to upset me. They just need help calming down, or they just need help settling, or it's really hard for someone to try to go to sleep when they're just not sleepy yet. Like that stuff is really hard. And so I'm trying to help myself reframe what my kids are doing in their behavior, so that I don't just like surface level snap thinking, wow, they're just being rude and disrespectful and they don't care about me and my me time. try to let go of the guilt. And in the same hand, I want to say let go of the yelling as well. We know that adds fuel to the fire. I know sometimes it feels like it works in the short term, but it does damage that trust. It does instill like a level of fear in our kids, and it absolutely does not bring a sense of regulation, which is really what we need them to be if they're going off to sleep. And what your child really needs in that moment is for you to kind of be the calm and like the anchor when they're losing it. Also, I hate to say that bedtime is a bit of a mirror. Like, it kind of shows us what our emotional patterns are that we default to when we're really stretched or overwhelmed. So there's some learning that we can do in here. Okay, I do want to go through a few. I think I've got like 5 ideas written down of things that we can do to sort of shift that bedtime routine, like leading up to kids going into their bed to sleep. First one is definitely turn off devices 2 or even 3 hours before bed. Like, what works for you and your kids? Sometimes, like, I know families might even be like nothing after school, no devices or anything after school, Monday to Thursday, for example. You can swap out screens for quiet play or Lego or reading, stuff like that. We often dim the lights. I turn all the lights off in the house and we just have some lamps on. So that's kind of bringing down the brightness as well. And definitely creating connection moments. So it might be intentionally spending 5 minutes chatting. It could be snuggling. It could be reflecting on the day. Sometimes we do some quiet-ish board games or card games to connect as a family. And yeah, sometimes we even put like calming or soft music on. We might use some essential oils and things like that. It's almost like creating a bit of a bedtime ritual. I can't suggest enough doing some bonding time activities, because bedtime is a time of separation, right? When it kind of feels like it's going to be forever, especially for young kids. It's going to be too long before I see you again. And it's going to sleep where they're really unconscious, not with you and not connected. So yeah, do some reading together. You could do some breathing or some stories. You could just sit holding hands as they drift off or as they attempt to, so those kind of connection moments can mean a lot to our kids. It doesn't have to be like all night, but if we set aside intentionally 5 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever's comfortable for you, then that can make a big difference. Now, I do want to say, if this is hard, then you are not alone, because like I say this in most videos, no one was really taught this stuff. We were kind of taught the opposite, right? Kids just need to comply, and if they don't, then they need more consequences and punishment. So this stuff is going to take practice, but definitely not perfection. And if you identify as a bit of a snappy or reactive parent at bedtime, you're probably experiencing that during the day as well. It's not always just confined to bedtime, but it can be worse. So I want to give you a bit of like a gift from me. I have a really popular course. It's called From Reactive to Responsive Parenting. It is online. It's totally self-paced. You do it like in your own time. Usually this course is $97, but for you guys, I have a code and I want to give it to you for $17. So huge discount. Don't know what that is. It's like 80-90% off. So just $17 for this course, From Reactive to Responsive Parenting. The code is StephYT for YouTube, StephYT17. I'll put it down below in the show notes or in the YouTube description. You'll be able to see it. And please take advantage of that, because I know that once we have the tools to manage our stress, once we have the different strategies and we know how to regulate in the moment, then, we can find a lot more joy, a lot more calm, and a lot more patience, especially in the evenings.